Sister Wives star Kody says one of his kids will never speak to him again. You brainwashed and manipulated me. Kody Brown is losing touch with his children. In Sunday night's episode of Sister Wives, How the Mighty Have Fallen, the father of 18 revealed that one of his children had cut him off for good. Kody and his wife, Robin, had a heart-to-heart outside their Flagstaff home. They discussed his broken relationship with most of his adult children. Robin urged Kody to continue trying to make amends with them by not giving up on calling and texting. However, according to Kody's version of events, he has tried to mend his relationships with his kids, but most of them aren't willing to reciprocate the effort. In fact, one of his children has cut him off completely. One of Kody Brown's 18 children will never speak to him again. During a confessional, Kody shared, "I've had one of my kids just say, 'You're an ***** Cole. I'm never talking to you again. You manipulated me and you brainwashed me.'" The 55-year-old former polygamist didn't reveal which child he was referring to. We know that his relationships with Cristin and Gabriel were the most talked about in recent seasons. Kody's strict pandemic rules caused contention among his family, especially Cristin and Gabriel, who refused to abide by them. Things got so intense that Kody even suggested that Janelle kick Cristin out of her house. Admittedly, Kody told Sister Wives viewers during a previous season's tell all that he and his boys needed therapy. At the time, Kody revealed that he was not on speaking terms with Cristin or Gabriel. It's unclear whether they were ever able to mend their father-son relationships. We do know, however, that Kody regrets not taking advantage of the time he had with Cristin before his passing. 6 months after Cristin's untimely death earlier this year, Kody told People that his and Cristin's relationship certainly could have been better. "We could have been talking more. I'd get texts, stuff like that, and we could have, retrospectively, we could have done so much more," Kody admitted. Kody isn't willing to reach out to his kids forever. In Sunday night's episode, Kody also revealed that his and Janelle's daughter, Madison, didn't even tell him she was pregnant with her daughter, Joey. But in Kody's eyes, he shouldn't be the only one trying to reconcile with his kids. As he confessed, some people think that parental-child relationships don't have to be reciprocal, but when they're adults, yeah, they do. Kody said he would not continue to reach out to his kids forever. Although he said he would make the effort, he expects his kids to do the same. He said, "I'm not going to camp out on somebody's doorstep." The silence in the room was thick, palpable. It clung to the air like an invisible fog as Kody Brown stood in the doorway of his home. The words his child had thrown at him minutes earlier still rang in his ears, echoing in a voice tinged with anger and hurt. His heart pounded as he tried to make sense of the whirlwind that had overtaken his life in the last few years. He'd always prided himself on being the patriarch of a large, polygamous family, a man with many wives and even more children. But at that moment, it felt like the very foundation he'd built was crumbling beneath him. Kody had faced challenges before. With 4 wives, numerous children, and the constant scrutiny of living life under the public eye, drama was never far from his doorstep. But this time, it was different. This time, it was personal. His child's voice replayed in his head, shaking him from his thoughts. "You brainwashed and manipulated me, Dad." The words were heavy with years of resentment. Kody took a deep breath, his thoughts spinning. He had always believed that the choices he made for his family were for their benefit. The faith he had instilled in them, the lifestyle they embraced, it had been for unity, for something larger than just one person. But now one of his children, someone he loved more than anything, stood across from him, a stranger almost, filled with a fury that Kody hadn't seen coming. The argument had started over something trivial, perhaps a passing comment about family rules or expectations. It was hard to remember what had ignited the spark. But as soon as the floodgates opened, there was no stopping the cascade of emotions that followed. "You never gave me a choice," his child had said, eyes blazing with the weight of every unspoken feeling. "You pushed your beliefs, your lifestyle, on all of us, and we didn't know any better. You isolated us from the world, made us think that this was the only way to live. But it's not. It never was." Kody had felt the need to defend himself, to explain that he had only ever wanted what was best for them. He had raised them in love, had done what he thought was right. But how could he argue with the raw truth of his child's experience? Their lived reality was different from his intention. His words caught in his throat, heavy with the weight of things left unsaid. "I loved you," Kody whispered, finally finding his voice. "I did everything out of love for this family. For you." His child scoffed, a bitter laugh that cut through the tension like a knife. Love? Love isn't control, Dad. You think you were protecting us, but all you did was keep us trapped in your world. Your rules, your beliefs, your way of thinking. You made sure we never questioned it, never even thought to question it. Kody opened his mouth to respond, but there was no way to reason with the hurt staring back at him. His child's pain was undeniable, and the realization hit him like a wave. In trying to shield them from the world, had he inadvertently shut them off from it entirely? Had he become the very thing he had always feared, an overbearing father who couldn't let go? I never wanted to manipulate you, Kody said softly, almost to himself. I never wanted that. But you did. His child's voice cracked with emotion, and tears began to spill down their cheeks. You did, whether you meant to or not. And now I have to figure out who I am outside of you. Outside of this family. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for that. The air in the room felt heavy, like it was pressing in on Kody from all sides. He wanted to reach out, to hold his child and tell them that everything would be okay. But he knew, deep down, that this was a wound too deep to heal with simple words or gestures. It was a lifetime of choices coming to a head, choices that, in hindsight, maybe hadn't been the best. I don't want to lose you, Kody whispered, the words barely audible. You already have, came the quiet reply. I don't think I can ever speak to you again, not after everything. Kody's breath caught in his throat. The finality of those words settled into the pit of his stomach like a stone. He had always thought that no matter what, his family would stick together. They had weathered so many storms before, divorces, separations, conflicts over their unique lifestyle. But this felt different. This was a fracture that couldn't be mended with time or apologies. As his child turned to leave, Kody reached out, his hand trembling. But he stopped himself just short of making contact. He realized in that moment that there was nothing more he could say. No amount of explaining or pleading would change how his child felt. He had to accept that their relationship might never be the same. The door closed softly behind them, and Kody stood alone in the silence. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the conversation, of where it had all gone wrong. He had always believed in his way of life, had embraced it wholeheartedly. But now, one of his own children had walked away from him, feeling betrayed and manipulated. For the first time in a long time, Kody Brown didn't know what to do. His grip on the life he had built, the family he had nurtured, felt more tenuous than ever. He had always prided himself on being the glue that held everyone together. But now it seemed like his very presence had driven a wedge between them. In the quiet aftermath, Kody sank into a chair, his head in his hands. How had things come to this? He had always believed that love, faith, and commitment would carry them through any obstacle. But love, as he was learning, wasn't always enough. And sometimes the hardest part of love was knowing when to let go. As the hours passed, Kody sat in the same spot, the weight of his child's words heavy on his heart. You brainwashed and manipulated me.